completely lost my train of thought. Thank you, ADHD.
How about this? Let's try a new topic for a bit. What would you consider in minus Overlord and the ones we've already talked about? What is without a doubt, hands down, the worst anime you have ever seen in your life?
You mean not that's not Boku no Pico? The worst anime. And the thing is, like, and I'm going purely off writing here. Fate Stay Night Infinite Blade Works. I hate it. It would be a tie between that and Dragon Ball, and I will explain both. Because if not, I
Dragon
will
Ball,
receive death threat.
one of
I
the
have a
most
reason.
famous and basically an anime that even people who are not big in the anime scene or might not even know what anime is, people who know what Dragon Ball is to the point where I can go to a fucking swap meet and find people selling, granted, very
Yeah,
generic, but Dragon Ball merchandise.
yeah, can't stand it. I'll explain why in a second. So the first one I talked about, Blade Works.
Just remember, chat,
Uh,
I don't always approve of his opinions either. I just give him the platform. Also, Adar says, also, I think his actions are affected by his game character's mentality, making him emotionless and inhuman. Anyway, I'm done for Kazi's sake. And Abyssal says the Fate series is a fucking hellhole.
yeah, and here's why. Okay, first of all, the Fate series is a series of animes that, like, the timeline keeps bending, so they keep going back to, like, earlier time periods. It's like watching a spiral or a loop to loop of an anime. Like, it's going back with changes. But anyway, in Infinite Blade Works, right? You have this character, and this character has a dream. Thing is, though, you also have this character hundreds of years in the future because he's been, like, preserved as this thing, and he's people, they don't know they're the same person at first because the older guy is unrecognizable and intentionally hiding his identity. But anyway, it's revealed that this kid's dream will lead him to become literal Hitler, as in he will become a dictator in millions of people, mass murderer, and that his dream. The funny thing is, his dream is to protect people and be like a superhero, basically.
Yeah.
An older version of him is like your dream, like the way, especially the way you will go about your dream, leads you down a mountain of heartbreak. It is. I'm you at the end of your dream. It was not worth it. Please, for fuck's sake, pick something else. Right? Literally, his future self came back to tell him this was a bad idea. If that happened to you, you would assume it was a bad idea, right?
Yeah, I would assume if my future self is telling me whatever I'm doing is not going to go the way I think it is, I would probably start questioning what I'm doing.
Well, instead of questioning what he's doing, he looks at his future self and goes, "Fuck you! I have a dream," and kills his future self to go off and do his dream. And in the last frame of the anime, it's shown future guy was correct. He was literally, the main character was literally too stupid. I love Uncle from Another World, by the way, Adar. I absolutely can't wait for
Oh,
the
I
second half.
remember that one. Me and Arrow were actually busy watching that recently
It's
too.
a wonderful subversion of of every trope, and I love it. But anyway, this guy literally had his future self say you will lead yourself down the worst hellhole you could imagine, and then the guy's like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna do it anyway because I have a dream." Yeah, his future self was like, his future self hated the person they became so much he was literally going to kill himself in the past to prevent it from ever happening. But he failed. This past person got killed him instead. But yeah, it was like the single stupidest moment in writing because not the anime had the balls to say this was a good and noble thing. He was following his dream to become the new Hitler in spite of adversity. When in reality, he really should have listened to his future self and, I don't know, took up art. And as for Dragon Ball, I have less passionate hatred for it and more of a numb, I don't want to do this anymore. And before anybody crucifies me, I watched 375 episodes of it. I finished the original Dragon Ball and made it a decent chunk of the way into Dragon Ball Z. I didn't like any of it. I liked maybe the first 10 episodes, the original arc, where it was a Journey to the West parody. But after that, it's nothing got me. I'm sorry, like I made it to the point where the purple guy with the two horns did the body swap on Goku, and I looked up and I did the math and realized I'd watched. Fuck it, I gotta do the math again. I'm pulling up my calculator real quick. I'm gonna tell you how many fucking hours of this I watched.
But yeah, Chad, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them of us. This is the birthday stream. You are free to ask us anything you want. Anime, game, personal life, anything. But
I gave 143 hours, 144 hours rounding up, which is damn near about a week of my life to watching the show. And I can't recall moments where I laughed, got excited, cared about the plot, wondered what was going to happen next in the plot. Because let's be honest, and I'm not the only one that hates Dragon Ball. Because you know who else hates it? The fucking writer of Dragon Ball. There is no story. The story is bad guy appears, beats up Goku. Goku trains for 50 episodes, comes back, screams for 10 episodes, kills bad guy. New bad guy. This isn't my final form. That's Dragon Ball in a nutshell. Every arc. And while I appreciate what it did as it helped set several standards for the genre it falls in, I don't find anything of it interesting. And I think a good chunk of the reason a lot of people love Dragon Ball is because it was like one of the first animes you could watch as a kid because it was everywhere. And I didn't watch simply because I was through sheer happenstance. I wasn't watching TV at the time. Anime was played for kids, and my mother at young age didn't let me watch violent content. I didn't see Dragon Ball until I was 20. Like
also just
actually sit down to watch it.
You were talking about how long you watched that. I ended up looking at I was looking at my Steam when you said that, and on Skyrim, on my PC alone, I have 1,683 hours in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I did the math. That's about 70 days.
Yeah.
That was just. I didn't mean to interrupt. That was just something that came.
Yeah, and the thing is, you completely derailed me. Yeah,
Also,
I watched a full week of the thing basically, and I didn't enjoy my time. It didn't happen to me, and because didn't start actually properly watching the show until I was 20. I didn't have the rose-colored glasses for it. And fun fact, the creator, I believe his name is Toriyama, hates Dragon Ball with a passion. He wanted it to end in Dragon Ball Z, by the way.
honestly, I feel like one of the reasons why animes like that are still going around and still considered beloved is because people have what I love to call the nostalgia goggles on. And
Rose-colored glasses,
yeah,
that's the actual term for them.
yeah, the rose-colored glasses, and I think that like that also, and we've seen that a lot in modern culture of anime and gaming. Like Call of Duty, let's be honest, Call of Duty sucks ass these past like what 10 years. But
Yeah.
and I've actually met people, and I'm not joking this chat. I've met people who openly say they buy Call of Duty every year at this point out of what they call respect to the franchise. They
And the thing is
it's fucking shit, but they buy it because they feel like they can't not buy it.
and that's a big thing of Dragon Ball. And like if you respect Dragon Ball, let it die. Or I swear I think his name is Toriyama. He hates the series and wants to do something else. He's wanted to do something else for literal decades now, but Shonen won't let him because Dragon Ball's so
I looked
popular.
it up. It is Akira Toriyama.
Toriyama, I was right. Yeah, he does not want to do Dragon Ball. He wants to move on to other projects, but they keep him writing Dragon Ball because it's so popular, and they threaten to blacklist him if he tries to quit and go to a different company.
Basically, the company who he did it with sat there and said, "You know what? We like the money more than the content."
If you, yeah, basically his stuff prints money still. And he's thing is like he's publicly gone and said he hates Dragon Ball. He wishes it would die. Dragon Ball's so big, the creator can literally say, "Please stop reading it," and people will still read it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he and it. I follow the same philosophy. If the creator wants it to end, let it end. Like Toriyama has actually said, there's times he tried to sabotage the series so it can um get unpopular and die, and it didn't work. Like literally he memed on giving Goku different colored hairs, hoping people would get bored of the repetition.
Yeah, that is a good philosophy to have.
The Goku's power ups are just different colors of the rainbow meme. He's in on it. He's trying to make the show. He tried to make the show bad, and people won't do it.
Yeah, that's where I feel like people just have too much of a. I guess I could say addiction. They love the anime so much they are willing to fight and dive into the point where I think Toriyama has actually gotten heat from the fan base. Like people sitting there telling him, I'd have to see if I could find it again. I remembered we were talking about this a while back, but someone basically tweeted at him or something like that. Basically went up and told him, "You don't understand Dragon Ball. That's why you don't. That's why you hate it. You're just hating on what's popular, not realizing the motherfucker created it." And I think the person realized later on that he created it, and they basically still sat there and said, "You don't understand Dragon Ball then." Or something like that. I'd have to find
I think is I want to know what there is to understand. Like there's a few morals, but all shonen anime have those morals. Like nothing Toriyama does is unique or original anymore. And honestly, there are ones that do it better. Like people made, especially when it came out, people did a lot of shit that Naruto was like a Dragon Ball clone. Only thing is, Naruto thought to fix a lot of Dragon Ball's issues. Namely, it has a plot now. Power attributes are an actual thing, meaning you can simply have a bad matchup but still be stronger than somebody.
Yeah.
His female characters are more than one dimensional.
Yeah, honestly, that is one thing That's also the reason why I never got into Dragon Ball, is because it always felt just on repeat. It's just, oh, new enemy has approached. They fight for several episodes, with some of those fights literally taking several episodes, even though the fight would IRL be over in like 5 minutes, even though the fight would be over in like 5 minutes. And it would go on like that for like 10 for a season or something like that. And then it just keep repeating. And I actually sat there and I remember I was talking to someone about it and I said, how long can you do this where it's just the same shit? New enemy, they fight, yada
And
yada.
you know what? I could handle the new enemy and they fight. That's a shonen battler. A shonen battle anime, it's a genre of anime where basically you get a bunch of people with powers and you action figure style knock them into each other to see who wins. Like, and that's a good formula. It's a fun technical formula that you have lots of flashy spectacle, right?
Mm-hmm.
My issue with Goku is, and his stuff in general, they don't have interesting fights. It's different colors of energy beams. And to put it in perspective with like Naruto and as a Abyssal, I can't pronounce it to save my life. So with Adarsa with Bleach, their power systems have elements to them. So there's fire types and water types and wind types and fuckers that just make shit explode. Like, but it's different, and like you can have different matchups. Like, for example, there were some people that fight remotely using puppets on magical strings. There are some people that explicitly fight with punching shit. There's some people that spit fire, or like there was like one chick who fought by heating up the water in your body till you turn into a steam mummy. There was another guy that used steam, like emitted steam from his body to act like a pressure jet and shoot him all across the battlefield, kicking shit wildly.
Honestly, here, let me see if I could ask this and see if how quickly I get heat for this. I'm not gonna get heat. I just want to see what someone will do. Dragon Ball Evolution, the movie.
I never saw it.
Really? Well,
Like I said, I didn't properly
according
watch.
to what I see, it is ranked on IMDb out of 10, 2.6. Rotten
Oh, it was.
Tomatoes has it at 15%. And remember, Rotten Tomatoes has a 1% margin of error, meaning it's either 14 or it's 16. And Metacritic has it at a surprising 45 out of 100.
It's complete. You can look at the trailer and see it shit. Like they fucked it up. They made it more. They made it look more like a Bruce Lee comedy action film than a Dragon Ball thing. But like I said, I didn't. Aside from his few scattered episodes, I didn't actually see Dragon Ball until I was 20. Ooh, I have a good one for this topic, and it's a good time to change. Um, Heavy Arms says, okay, here's the topic. An anime that after it finished, you picked up the manga just to see the difference and are wanting more from the series. For me, it was Rurouni Kenshin. Basically says Soul Eater. I've not picked up the Soul Eater manga yet, although I've heard it's good. For me, and full disclosure here, this was during when I was a horny 14-year-old, so grain of salt. It's a anime called Heaven's Lost Property, which if you ever see it, it's basically porn. And me being horny, looked up the anime. Not the anime, the manga. The manga had a very good plot, actually. It was still a perv joke thing, but the anime had lots of themes versus determinism, fate, the main character. This is like, so the premise of the anime, right? Is there's these things called, they're basically android angels. They're called angeloids, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is that it's like literal like slavery fetish shit. Like they wear collars and they call you master and do whatever you want. And the main character, like this is something that actually drew me to it initially. The main character thought this was disgusting.
Really?
He was a pervert, right? But Adar, I will get to Soul Eater. I have notes on that show.
Oh, God, no. Guys, run. He has notes. You know what that means.
But yeah, he was a pervert. Yeah, but like, there was a joke he made in episode. So in addition to being pervy, like these angeloids can do all kinds of shit. So like when he first got one, he was like doing all this weird shit, like stopping time to flip skirts and like stealing valuables and shit. And near the end of the episode, he's and this is a really good moment of writing. He's sitting there eating like this delicious food on a pile of money, and the angel goes, "Is there anything else you'd like?" He's like, "Yeah, maybe you could." As a joke, he goes, "Yeah, maybe you could strip." And then she does so without question. And you can see, and the anime does this too. You can see a moment on his face where he realizes this person will do so without any hesitation, like no free will style. And you can see his disgust with himself as he hurriedly tells her to one, get dressed again. And he has an emotional outburst as he realizes how inappropriate he's been this entire time. And the manga continues this whole thing as there's an entire arc where the Angelids have this weird imprinting process where like they will serve one person only. This weird techno magic chain. So he does this thing where he severs the entire arc where he severs the chain, and the angel girl is not okay with this. As it turns out, she was perfectly happy in her situation because she was literally built to serve, and she actually, and she had a whole arc where she developed emotions and actually liked the guy, although she didn't admit it. And they had an entire arc where they had like the entire cast had to basically convince him to reestablish the link, which is really good. And it tackled a lot of like themes, like is it really servitude if I do it willingly?
Yeah.
Is what I'm doing okay? And the thing is, like like I said, the main character is an absolute pervert. But the thing is, like he had the strong rules. Like he wanted his women to be
willing
on board with the pervertness. So he like So he would perv on every other girl but the literal one who would do anything he said because he never felt right doing it. Like that was like, especially considering anime, like that was a very big moment. Like a lot of if in the hands of a lesser writer, the anime would be 100% him trying to get along with the angel only to be interrupted at the last minute. No, they had plenty of minutes alone, and he stopped literally every single one of them because he wanted the actual mutual attraction to take place, and like that was first of all, 14-year-old me with a boner was not ready for that, but like it was actual good writing and had an actual plot, villain, and end to it, and the anime skipped so much of it for simple haha boobs. The girl moans when she doesn't have any reason to moan. Like it wasn't it was unexpectedly a gem, and it's still to this day one of my favorite manga of all time, despite all the perv jokes. 9 years later now.
Yeah, no, I've seen some animes like me and Arrow or we're watching one. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it's basically high school boy gets stabbed because apparently he has some gear in him, and he gets resurrected by a demon girl, and now he serves her and four others. They're all chess pieces. He's the pawn, but the most powerful pawn because he's made up of 7 other pawns. But that one, it's one of those I have to lock my door when I watch it with Arrow because I'm afraid my mom's gonna come in and see it. But surprisingly enough, it was one of those that I felt like was gonna be porn with plot, that kind of thing when he was describing it. Especially when the intro literally has the girls naked, and so I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, oh god, this is just gonna be porn with plot. But then I quickly realized, wait a minute, this is actually pretty good. Like I've actually not even paid attention to the titties. I'm listening to the story. But as to answer the question from Heavy Arms, there has not been a manga I've read. Yes, I am, ironically enough, a manga version.
There's a few I'd recommend you read, especially a lot of really good anime don't finish the plot for one reason or another, so you actually have to read the manga to finish it.
Yeah.
And Soul Eater is actually one of them because my note for Soul Eater is simple. Like the main villain of the Soul Eater anime was defeated by literally the power of friendship.
Also,
They spent.
this is completely out of context, but I forgot I have a from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I have a Tri-Wizard cup. I totally forgot I had this in my room.
Nice. But yeah, picture this, right? You spend an entire arc learning a new power that will only specifically work on this thing, and then you hit him with it, and it doesn't work.
That would scare me personally if I was a fighter.
Anyway, the power doesn't work, and it's revealed that the real power to defeat the enemy was literally all the friends hold hands and the enemy's defeated. The power of friendship in purest format.
So what you're saying is they stole it from it.
Pretty much, like they basically come together and just start laughing at the enemy, and he shrivels away.